Hello. Welcome back. This is Bushcraft Family with another podcast. And this is kind of a life story in sorts, but maybe something a little bit different. My last podcast, I did get a lot of people commenting and telling me the sorry they were and things like that. And I did get quite a few negative things out of it. Again, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody or whatnot. But I didn't tell that story for people to feel sorry for me. And I never want anybody to feel sorry for me. I think everything is, we go through things in life. Everybody has gone through hard times and deaths in the family and things like that. And I feel as it is it's just a part of life, and sometimes you learn from these things, mistakes that you've done in the past, people that you've hurt, again, tragedies that happen in your life. And sometimes you can actually turn these things where you actually help people. And I think maybe that I may have helped somebody in the past. It's just been a few years ago. I did a video trying to get people to go view a woman's YouTube channel. She had went through a horrible tragedy. She lost her husband. Her and her kids were in an awful car wreck, hit by a drunk driver. And I got a lot of negative people that came to my channel because I did this. And she ended up reaching out to me and apologizing for what I was going through and whatnot. And that really, really humbled me, what she was going through. And we started talking because I went through the same thing, but not on social media or anything like that. But my wife was killed by a drunk driver also. So I know what she was going through. And she would always talk to me about when somebody would talk to her, I know how you feel, and I'm so sorry, and things like that. It's a normal reaction for people to say how sorry they are, and when they're trying to comfort the person and whatnot. But when you've been through something very tragically, as your loved one being taken away from you in the same manner, it's a lot easier for you to relate to somebody that's been through this. And I was glad that I was there to talk to her whenever she needed somebody to talk to. Because it's not often that you come across somebody that's been through the same thing that you have been through. And I like to say that we've become friends. But one thing that I remember, whenever someone close to you dies, there's a really strong grieving process. And you go through the wake. You have all these people that come and remember the person. They come up to you and shake your hand, hug you, and tell you how sorry they are. I know what you're feeling, things like that. And then, after your loved one is buried, there's nobody around. You're there to deal with your grief alone most of the time. And that's where you ask yourself, what do you say to somebody to make them feel better when they lost somebody in such a tragic way? And the answer is, there's nothing you can say. I know it's hard to hear this, but once somebody's grieving so hard, it doesn't matter what anybody says. It's not going to take that hurt away from you. And you hurt that way because you cared and you loved that person so much. But the one thing that you can do when somebody is grieving that hard is just be there for that person. If it's anything just for a cup of coffee, just a normal conversation, talk about if you knew the person, even if you didn't, let them tell you a happy story about that person. What brought them joy? What were their ideas of life and happiness and stuff like that? Just somebody sit there and listen. That makes so much difference when you can just be there for somebody that's going through a hard time. Because there's, like I said, there's no words that can take the hurt away. It's always going to be there. It's just, in time it gets easier. And I don't mean it gets to where you still don't hurt or anything. It's just, it's easier. You learn to live with it. And then maybe someday you can be there for somebody else. So often you see people, all these people come together during a a viewing or a wake, or a few less people go to the burial and whatnot, and then you hardly see these people after that, and that person's still sitting there grieving. And like I said, this was kind of a life story and a little something more. Just showing somebody in a bad day just some compassion, just to be there for them. Help them through the day. And eventually, that help will actually make you feel good too. But that's all I'm going to talk about with the subject for today. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope I made a little bit of sense. And again, try to be there for somebody. God bless.